on joint rotations. As we go through this, I'm going to remind you as we go along. And then when we get into our dynamic static stretching, there'll be some rules that we're going to follow there as well. Okay, so we're going to begin with your toes to start off with. And I know that sounds weird. And even the weirdest part is I'm going to film my toes as I do this. So I want everyone to go ahead and stand up for me. Okay. So everyone can see my toes. Now, a big promise here as well, guys, is that, remember, this is going to be educational as well. So I want to talk you guys through this. Now, the toes have a big, big part to play in the health of the feet, the ankles, the knees, the hips, and the spine. Reason being is every time we step, we're always basically going into extension of a toe, and then a toe is actually driving and propelling us off the floor in a gait. So if your toes are weak and you have poor control to your toes, you're at a high risk of getting injured. Okay, so first thing you're going to do, everyone stand up tall. Lico, stand up tall, please. Okay, from here, you're just going to lift your big toe as high as you can, and then your big toe is going to return to the floor. It's only your toe that's going to move. We're going to do 5 reps. Okay, big toe lifts off, big toe back to floor. 1, big toe lift off, big toe to floor. 2, big toe lift off, big toe to the floor. 3, big toe lift off, big toe to floor. If you feel that your fingers are going all straight and weird, that's normal. I don't know why it happens. 1 more. 5. Good. Now this time you're going to lift all your toes off the floor. So all your toes are off the floor now. From here, just your big toe is going to touch the floor. So 2 big toes to the floor and lift again. 1. Big toes to the floor, lift. 2. Big toes to the floor, lift. 3. Big toes to the floor, lift. 4. Big toes to the floor, lift. 5. Now keep all your toes off the floor. Kind of like a piano player, you're going to get your pinky toes to touch the floor first, and then every toe is going to follow with your big toe being the last toe. Okay, so all your toes off the floor, pinkies first, roll all the way to your big toe. 2, off the floor, pinky first, roll all the way to big toe. 3, off the floor, pinky first, roll all the way to big toe. 4, last one, off the floor, pinky first, roll all the way to big toe. Okay, fantastic. Now, if you found any of those to be challenging, you've got some toe work to do, and you can do this every single day. Now, go ahead, take a seat. We're getting into our ankles next. We're going to do the same ankle cars that we did last week. So from here, you're going to grab your thigh in a headlock. You're going to put your other hand onto your bicep, and then you're going to anchor that on top of your knee. We're just going to take your ankles through a big rotation, going 3 repetitions each way. So you're just going to follow me. You're going to start by curling your foot up towards your shin and dorsiflexion, and then when you go inwards, you're going through the smoothest controlled circle you possibly can. So you're going in, and then we're going all the way out to the outside, slow and controlled, and you're going to finish in dorsiflexion. Good. We're going to go into our second circle now. Off we go. 3 reps, slow and controlled. If you want a representation of how slow you should be going, just have a look at me. Remember, we're looking for a smooth circle as well. So if you're noticing that your foot is jumping between different positions, then it's often a lack of control, which means that just by doing cars every single day, you're going to improve that. Okay, now we're getting into our 3rd rep, and you're going to rest here at the top position. Now we're going to go back to the outside this time. Out we go. 3 reps, out to the outside. When you can't go any further, remember, you're trying to make this the biggest, most controlled circle you can. Good, that's 1 repetition. Around we go to rep 2. All the way around, all the way to the front, coming up to the middle. That's now rep 2, going into our 3rd repetition. Out. Just your ankle is working. So your knee shouldn't be moving, your shin shouldn't be moving, just your ankle. Good, your toes will be moving as well. Good, swap sides. Get your other leg into a headlock. Place that hand on your other bicep, lock your knee in. We're going to start by curling your toes up towards you. We're going to start by going to the inside, just like last time. Remember, the most smooth control circle you can. Inside we go. One exception that probably will be moving here as well, guys, is your toes. That's okay. Ankle and toes. All the way to the outside. Remember, we're looking for a smooth, controlled circle. So if your foot is jumping around in different positions, it's a sign of lack of control or strength in certain ranges. Again, you're just putting yourself at an increased risk of injury by not addressing that. All the way through to top. Good. Pause at the top position. That's 3 reps. Now I want to go to the outside. Off we go. 3 repetitions now. Smooth, controlled circle. Really work hard at your ranges. If you know If you notice that there's one position that your foot always wants to jump into or speed up as you go through it, that's a bit you need to really focus on and try and slow down. 2. Last repetition. And 3. Fantastic. Good. Stand up on your feet, please. Okay, we're going to get into our hip cars now. Now, last week we did our hip cars in a quadruped position, which is on all fours. This time, we're going to do our cars in a standing position. So you can anchor yourself on something, or the wall works perfectly, but try and anchor yourself on something so that you're not going to move. Okay, I'm just going to quickly talk you through the rotation. When we're doing a hip rotation, you're going to see I'm anchored on my right arm, which means I'm going to be taking my right leg through a hip rotation. So we're going to start, just going to watch me real quick. You bring your knee up as high as you can. Now my left leg's not going to move, so neither is my spine. You're going to take it as far out to the outside as you can. This is a dog weeing last week. You're going to turn the foot up to the sky, and you're going to bring it all the way through. Now notice the rest of my body staying really straight. Foot returns to the floor, and then we're going to basically reverse it back to the start, okay? So you're going to go with me, guys. Same speed. Everyone's anchored in. Belly nice and tight. So your other arm out to the side, please, if you can, if you have the space. We're going to start by driving your knee up as high as you can, slow and controlled. When you get to this top position, I want you to pause. Hold here. Okay, now from here, you're going to take it out to the side as far as you possibly can. The body doesn't rotate. You may be getting a bit of cramp in the glute here. That's okay. Now start to turn your foot up to the sky and moving all the way around, reaching as far back as you can. This is a hard position to be in. Bring your knees together. Your foot's going to touch the floor. Now we go straight back. Heel lifts off. Bring your leg back, out to the side. You can't get any higher. Start to bring the foot through like you're passing a football. High as you can to the front and back down to the floor. That's 1 repetition. We're going into rep 2 straight away. Lift, high as you can. Out to the side, far as you can. Lift the foot up towards the sky. Remember, the body doesn't move. All the way around. Knees together. And we lift. Reach back, out to the side, like a dog pissing. Pass the football. Bring your knee towards your chest. Don't allow your other leg to bend though. And back down. Last one, go, lift. High as you can, out to the side. Controlling every little bit. When you can't get any further, turn the foot up. All the way around, down to the floor. Last rep, back we go. Lift the heel, reach behind you. Up to the outside. This is the hard bit. Drive through like you're passing a football, all the way towards your chest and down. Fantastic. That is a standing hip circle. We're going to the other side now. I'm going to show you on my left leg. Anchor yourself in. Make sure you have the space. If you need to put the other arm out, it gives you a bit more stability. Belly tight. And we're going to lift the knee as high as we can. When you can't get any higher, we're going out to the outside. As far as you can, start to rotate. This side is a bit tougher for me. You can see I started to compensate a little bit there. That wasn't a good demonstration. Knees together, foot to the floor. Now you're going to lift the heel, reach back behind you, lift up to the outside, and then pass the foot all the way through. Hey, Lee coach, do you mind just muting yourself, please? Thank you. And then lift your knee up. We're going to rep 2 now. Up to the outside, rotation. Don't allow that body to move. I just moved a little bit there again, all the way back down to the floor. We're going straight into the next rep. Lift the heel. Reach backwards to the outside, passing a football. Knee all the way to your chest, as high as you can. Now we're going to do 1 more repetition now, guys. Lift the knee to the chest as high as you can. Don't compensate anywhere else. Out to the outside. Control. This is a tough bit. You got to show slow control here. All the way down to the floor. And back we go. Lift the heel. Reach behind you. Out to the outside. Passing all the way through. And to the front. Fantastic. You'll notice with all our cars, guys, there's always a position that's most hard or most difficult. So for here, it's generally when you're getting your joint to its end range is where it gets challenging. Next one we're going to do is getting into spine now. So we're going to start with our cat cows that we did last week. We're going to start with 1 repetition in our quadruped position. I'll just talk you through it. And then we're gonna do an elevated cat-cow today. So make sure you can see me down this position. I want you down on your knees and hands, please. Okay, so we're gonna start in our neutral spine position. We're gonna work through this together now. Now the cat-cow, we're gonna think about always starting with the hip first, okay? So from here, if I'm dropping into my cow, I'm gonna start by rotating my pelvis as far as I can. When I can't rotate the pelvis any further, we're gonna imagine a little man walking up my spine. So every step that he takes, I'm gonna try and control that part of my spine. And then you're gonna finish with your head. Then as I reverse this, again, I'm gonna start my spine by curling inwards. Okay, so we'll go together now. Place your hands underneath you, spine is neutral. We're gonna start with the cow. So we're dropping our belly button down to the floor. So we start with the pelvis, off we go. Start to tilt and rotate that pelvis as far as you can. Just your pelvis. When your pelvis can't rotate any further, imagine that little man walking up your back. It's now working towards that mid-spine. Now he's starting to work up into our thoracic. Start walking towards the middle of our shoulders. And now we're gonna lift our chin. I'm gonna hold that position. You should feel the musculature of your upper back working hard here. Now keep your head and shoulders where they are. We're gonna start to bring the hips forward this time. So we start to bring the hips forward. Keep on bringing them forward. Keep on bringing them forward. When they can't go forward anymore, we'll start to go to lower back. Lower back is now reaching up towards the sky. Mid back up towards the sky. Keep your head where it is, between the shoulder blades, and finish with your chin down. Hold that position. We're gonna do one more repetition. Now start to rotate the hips. Hips go back the other way. Keep on rotating. Keep on rotating. When the hips can't go any further, start to move that lower back into mid back, upper back, lift the chin. Now this is a really poor position for me. Thoracic extension is something I've always struggled with, so make sure you're going further than I am. Keep your chin where it is. Start to tuck it forward. Pelvis only, reaching the middle back towards the sky. Upper back, between the shoulders and your chin. Hold that position. Okay, fantastic, good. I'm gonna give you guys a bit of a spin on this one now, because a lot of you did that one last week. We're now gonna do 2 reps of an elevated cat-cow. So if you have something to place your hands on, a sofa, a chair, do it. Otherwise, it can be done on a wall as well. This also works. So we're gonna challenge you a little bit more with a cat-cow. So have a quick look. I'm gonna start in neutral position, and I'm basically gonna go through my cat-cow in this position with my arms elevated. Okay, so just an extra challenge for you guys to play around with. So I want you to go ahead and anchor your hands either on a sofa or anchor them against a wall. Okay, bring your head between your arms. We're gonna do exactly the same thing, 2 reps of a cat-cow. We're gonna start with our pelvis. So start by rotating your belly button down towards the floor, sticking your butt in the air. When your pelvis can't go any further, start to drop down towards the floor. Middle of your back, upper back, between the shoulders. Now lift the chin. So you're in an arch position here. Hold your chin where it is. Now we start with the pelvis. Pelvis starts to tuck forward. Tucking, lower back, mid back, upper back. Last one, chin down. Hold that position. You probably should feel your lats working a bit here as well. Now start to rotate the pelvis the other way. Going back down towards our cow, dropping our chest to the floor. Just the pelvis to start. Now the belly button. Lower back. Mid back. Lift the chin. Hold this position for 3 seconds. Should feel the arch in that spine. We're also bringing the shoulders into it now. Now we start to tuck the pelvis forward. Pelvis. When the pelvis can't get any further, lower back. Mid back. Upper back. Chin. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Rest. Good. Moving straight into our spine now. Now we've just mobilized our spine through flexion and extension. I said this last week, but when it comes to spine mobility, we always have to start by addressing flexion extension first. Once we've mobilized the spine through these 2 positions, we can then get into rotation and things like side flexion, okay? So if you're trying to improve thoracic rotation and you're seeing these kind of drills, remember, these drills won't do anything until you open up and start to own flexion extension. Okay, so we're gonna do the same drills we did last week, which was basically in a tall kneeling position. We're working on rotation and then side flexion, and then we're gonna go rotate and side flex, okay? So if you have a PVC pipe, you can place this behind your neck as well. That also works. Otherwise, I want you to place your hands behind your head. You can be in a tall kneeling position or in a sizer sit where you sit back on your heels. It's up to you. Okay, from here, we're gonna start by rotating to our left-hand side. Remember, the hips aren't gonna move. You're just gonna rotate as far as you possibly can. When you can't rotate any further, you're gonna side flex. Like you're doing a side crunch, you're gonna hold this position. Come back, and we rotate to the opposite side now. All the way through, taking your spine through full rotation. Slow and controlled, because the slower, the harder it is. Side flex on your right-hand side. Hold. Come back to neutral. Rotation, that's 1 repetition. As far as you can. Don't let your hips rotate as well, guys. Just your spine. Side flex. Come back to middle. Rotation. As far as you can. You can't get any further. Side flex. That's 2. We're going to do 4 repetitions here because the spine's important. Rotating to the other side. Rotate, rotate, rotate. When you can't get any further, side flex. 3. Come back to neutral. Rotation. As far as you can. Really work at your end ranges. Then side flex. That's 3. You've got 1 more to go. Rotation, rotation. As far as you can. Side flex. Hold. Back in. And rotation. 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 Can't get any further. Side flex. Fantastic. Good, guys. Okay, we're moving into the wrists now. Now, the only reason we're going to do the wrists is because most of us who are in gyms or CrossFitters, we're getting down on our hands all the time. And I don't think we prioritize wrist health enough. Okay, I know this because I've recently just been prescribed with a bit of a wrist injury, and I know it's because I didn't put enough time into managing my wrist. Okay, so we're going to go 2 hands at once. Now, we're going to start with a double fist. Okay, so in this double fist, you can get into any seated or kneeling position you want, but we're just going to be working the wrist here. So if you watch me here, we're basically going to start with flexion, and then you're going to take your wrist in a full circle, the biggest controlled circle that you can, and you're going to come back into this position, just like the ankle. Does that make sense? Okay, so wrists together in any position. I want you looking at your wrists and just focusing on the control here. Now we're going to start by going into flexion. So 2 wrists down towards each other. When you can't get any further, start to work in towards your body. We're going to start to move into the biggest, most slowest controlled circle you can. That's 1 circle. We go straight into a 2nd circle. Work hard at your end ranges. Trying to control every millimeter of movement here. 2, we're going to do 3 circles. Into that 3rd repetition now. Now we're going to reverse to the opposite way now. So starting this position, we begin to reverse the opposite way. Control. Control. Look at your wrist, guys. If you're not watching your wrist and you're watching me, it's hard to know how much control you're putting into this. We're also looking for discrepancies here. So if you can see that one side is worse than the other, or perhaps you experience more pain on one side than the other, this is something you guys need to start to address. Because often it means there's an injury looming. Fantastic. Good. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing, but this time you're going to open your palms. So we're going to do an open palm wrist cars. Okay. So same thing, open palms. Hands are going to stay straight, so fingers are never going to bend. We start with flexion in as far as you can go. Open palms, Charles. Good. Biggest circle you can do to the outside. All the way to the inside. That's 1. Focus on both wrists. Notice any pain. Notice how it feels. 2. As I said, wrists so important, especially if you're doing anything like CrossFit, because you're using them all the time. So daily maintenance work with joint cars. Super important. There you go. That's your 3 reps. Back the other way. Let's go. You'll feel muscles working on your forearms as well as you go into these positions. That's good. That's your flexors and extensors working to move your wrist. Obviously, it also goes to show that the stronger your flexors and extensors in your forearms, the stronger your wrist will be. Fantastic. This is rep 3. Good job. Okay, we're going to move straight into shoulder cars now. Now, your shoulder cars, you can be in a half kneeling position or a tall kneeling position. Now, from here, the shoulder car, adjust my screen. Just going to follow my cues here. So you're going to start with your thumb up towards the sky, like you give me a big thumb up. Now, remember, get your belly nice and tight. Nothing else is moving here except for your shoulder. Okay, so from here, it's my left shoulder working. I'm going to go ahead and bring it into its top position, high as I possibly can, to my ear and beyond if I can. Now from here, I'm going to start to reach behind me. As I reach behind me, my thumb is going to start to rotate down towards the floor. So the thumb is rotating down towards the floor, reaching as far back behind your body into shoulder extension as you can. Remember, you're trying to work to your end range here. Good, you're going to finish with your back of your hand in your pocket. Now we're going to reverse it. Go, thumb goes backwards. When you can't get any further in shoulder extension, begin that circle. Now remember, guys, you probably have bigger end ranges than me. So just make sure you're working to your end ranges at all time. The biggest possible circle you can do here. Freeze in this position. We go back, rep 2, go. High as you can. Imagine holding a dumbbell in your overhead position. That's the position we're looking for, reaching behind the body. As we're reaching behind, your thumb is going down towards the floor. Good, reaching behind the body and shoulder extension now. Into your pocket, and back we go. Slow and controlled. Thumb goes back. When you can't lift your arm any further, we start to rotate the arm. Slow and controlled. Trying to get it all the way to our ear now. Fantastic. That's 2. Got 1 more repetition. Let's go. Thumb up to the sky. All the way to the ear like you're holding a dumbbell up. Reaching behind the body. And as you're reaching behind, remember your thumb is rotating inwards. I want you guys working hard. Sheng, your whole body is rotating, buddy. Remember, your body should be strict, facing forward at all times. Back we go. Reach behind the body. Start to bring that thumb up to the sky. Nothing else moving except for that shoulder joint right now. All the way to your ear. Good. And through to front. Fantastic. Good. Swap knees. Or if you're in a tall kneeling position, stay there. Other arm now. We're going to start with our thumb up to the sky. Remember, end ranges is what we're focusing on here, guys. We all have different end ranges. Ready? And we start to bring thumb up to the sky. Elevate your shoulder like you're holding a dumbbell up to the sky here. Belly stays tight. Start to reach around. As you're reaching behind, your thumb's going downwards. Josh, your body's rotating a little bit, buddy. Try to be a little bit more humble with your range. It's tempting to want to let that whole body rotate as we go here. Just focus on your shoulder in towards our pocket. Now we go back. Thumb goes backwards, as far as you can. When you can't lift any higher, start to rotate that thumb up towards the sky. We're bringing it back into that overhead position, like we're holding a dumbbell in our overhead. Arm stays straight at all times, and we come back down to front. 1 repetition. Let's go into rep 2. Go. Thumb up to the sky. Get to our end range. This is where we want to work hard and controlled. Reaching back behind the body. Try not to let the back arch and extend here. Keeping the belly tight the whole time. Always rotating the thumb in towards our pocket. When we get into our pocket, we're going back into the next repetition. Thumb goes backwards. Well done, Lee Coates. I know I give you shit for this every single day. I see you doing it. You're doing much better. Good. Thumb up towards the sky now. Reaching all the way back into our overhead position. In this overhead position, the thumb is pointing back behind us, and we move back to the start again. I like to sometimes keep my hand on my belly just to kind of check myself to make sure I'm staying tight. Let's go. Last rep. Lift up to the sky. Always checking if you're staying tight. High as you possibly can. When you can't get any further, start to reach around the body. Reaching back, 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 back. And as you're reaching back, you're rotating that thumb as well. All the way into our pocket. And back we go. Thumb backwards. When you can't lift any higher, we start to rotate forward. Rotation. Your thumbs going backwards, bring it into our overhead position. Once we're overhead, come back down to the start. So guys, if you think about it, if every morning you start with these rotations throughout your body, not only are you giving yourself a bit of a wake up, you're taking your joints through the whole range that you want to use in that day, you're also doing a bit of a self-assessment. So if you're feeling any imbalances, any pinches, any pain on one side, not the other, that is a good thing to take into your training session and make sure you then activate effectively or make adjustments in your training. Okay, last little one for our joint rotations, guys, is our neck. Super simple. We bring our chin down to our chest and look towards our armpit. Gonna rotate to one side and around. So you're just gonna follow my instructions here. We'll get straight into it. Start by bringing your chest all the way down. Sorry, your chin all the way down to your chest. Then you're gonna look towards your left armpit, rotate your head. You can't look any further. Side flex your head. So you're gonna be tilted. Just have a look at me in this position. Stay there. This is where we wanna be. Now we're going all the way around. Kind of like the Matrix when he's avoiding the bullet, except your spine's not gonna move. Get onto your other side and side flexion. Look towards your right armpit. Chest, chin towards the middle. One rep. Look to your right armpit. Side flexion. All the way around. Getting into side flexion on the other side. Left armpit. Chin down. Biggest, slowest controlled rotation. Left armpit. Side flexion. All the way around. Slow and control. Remember, guys, the rule with pain, if you're getting any impingements or sore spots, don't push through it, work around it. Right armpit. Middle. Let's go right armpit. Side flexion. All the way around, slow and controlled. Look to your left armpit. The front. Get into your last repetition now, guys. Left armpit. Side flexion. All the way around. Side flexion on the right side. Look to your right armpit. To the front. Last rep. Look to your right armpit. Side flexion. All the way around. Side flexion left side. Left armpit. And to your front. Awesome. Good job, guys. That is our joint rotations. We're now going to move into a stretching protocol. So we're going to start with calves, work our way up into our upper body. Okay, so a couple of rules now. It's going to change a little bit. This time, it's not so much about creating tension. It's about kind of being relaxed, okay? So one thing I want you guys to do is from now on, you're going to breathe through your nose only. So nasal breathing is going to promote a bit more of a parasympathetic response, which is going to help to keep us a little bit more chilled. That's how we're going to end today's session. Okay, so first one you're going to do is we're going to do a knees over toe calf stretch. So I'm just going to spin my camera here a little bit. You're going to need a wall or something to pitch up against here. You're going to be in this position. Now, if you can look at my calves, maybe if you put your ankles in the camera head, that would help. Okay, in this position, we're going to be in a bent knee position. Now, we're going to bend your knees as much as you can to the point where your heels start to lift off the floor. If your heels are lifting off the floor, I bent my knees a little bit too much. So this is where I'm going to start my stretch, okay? So all we're going to do, we're going to do 10 repetitions where you're going to keep your knees bent, come all the way into your toes, and then you're going to bring your heels to the floor and try and lift your toes off the floor, okay? So we're working two things here. We're stretching the calf and the bottom of the foot, and then we're going to activate the tibialis, which is on the front of the shin, which is responsible for pulling our ankle into dorsiflexion. Okay, so I'll talk you through it. Get anchored against a wall or anything where you can lean on this position. Now, your knees have to be bent, remember? Slight bend, but your heels must also be on the floor. And if you can do that, it's easy. You can take yourself lower or take your feet further back. I want you at the point where your heels are trying to lift off the floor. That's our starting position. Okay, from here, you're now going to lift up onto your toes as high as you can, like a calf raise. Pause here for 2 seconds. Bring your heels to the floor and lift your toes off. So you should feel the front of your shins working here for 2 seconds. 1, 2, back to your calf raise. Lift your toes, keep your knees bent. 1, 2, heels to the floor, lift your toes. 1, 2, up to your toes, hold, heels to the floor, lift your toes. 1, 2, up to your toes. 1, 2, back to your heels. Lift your toes. 1, 2, up to your toes. Hold. Back to your heels. 1, 2. Working our calves in the front of our shins. Lift onto your toes. Squeeze your calves there. Back to your heels. Lift your toes. 1, 2. Up to your toes. Remember your knees staying bent the whole time. Back to your heels. Keep the knees bent. Lift the toes. Don't straighten the legs at any point. Up to your toes. Back to your heels. Lift your toes. 1, 2. 2 more. Try to keep your breathing in your nose here as well, guys. Remember, up to your toes, high as you can. Back to your heels. Lift your toes. 1, 2. Last one. Up to your toes, high as you can. Back to your heels. Try to lift your toes off the floor. 1, 2. Fantastic. Good, guys. A lot of times when it comes to ankle mobility, people just focus on working the back of their calf and trying to stretch this out. It's really important that if you're stretching this out, you need to be strengthening this muscle on the front, which is your tibialis. So that's why we kind of pair that toe raise with this one. Okay, next one, we're moving on to a hamstring stretch. This is the elephant walk. We did it last week. From this position, you're going to have both knees slightly bent, and you're basically just going to go into a full forward fold. Okay, but your knees have to be slightly bent here. Now, if you can't get to the floor, you can just anchor in on your shins. If the floor is easy, then I want you to make sure you get into your end range. From here, with a slight bend in the knee, of both knees, you're just going to straighten one leg. So here I'm straightening my left leg, and I'm intensifying my left hamstring stretch. I'm going to hold for a few seconds. I'm going to come out of it. Both knees are bent, and then I'm going to straighten my right leg and hold for 3 seconds. Cool, guys, ready to go? So get into your bent over position. Slight bend in your knees. Bring yourself all the way down. A rounded back is completely fine here. Both knees are bent. Now we're going to straighten our left leg. Go straighten your left leg only. Hold for 3, 2. We're just going to stay with the left leg. Go bend your left knee again, and then we're going to straighten it again. And straight. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Bend your left knee. Straighten your left knee. 3, 2. We're going to do 10 reps. 1. Bend your left knee. Straighten your left knee. 3, 2, 1. Bend your left knee. Straighten your left knee. 3. That's 5 reps. Got 5 more to go. Bend your left knee. Straighten your left knee. If you feel your range is improving here, guys, just reach towards the floor more. Bend your left knee. Straighten your left knee. 3, 2. Got 4 more to go. 1. Bend your left knee. Straighten your left knee. 3, 2, 1. Bend your left knee. Straighten your left knee. 3. Try and increase your range each time. 2 more. Bend your left knee. Straighten your left knee. 3, 2. Got 1 more to go. 1. Bend your left knee. And straighten your left knee. 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. Good. Just go ahead and stand up. Shake it out real quick. Okay, good. So basically taking the stretch on and off. So when I said this is kind of static, kind of static, kind of dynamic stretching, this is a dynamic form of stretch where we're increasing range of motion. Okay, let's go back down to our other leg now. Bend the knees slightly, get into your end range. Now working the right leg. Both knees are bent right now. Straighten your right leg. Go. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Bend your right leg. Straighten your right leg. 3, 2, 1. Bend your right leg. Straighten your leg. 3, 2, 1. Bend your leg. Straighten your leg. 3, 2, 1. Bend your leg. Straighten your leg. 3, 2. Really important you feel this in your hamstring, guys. Bend the leg. Straighten the leg. 3, 2, 1. Bend the leg. So just right leg. Straighten the right leg. 3, 2, 1. That's 8. Bend the knee. Straighten the leg. 3, 2, 1. That's 9. Straighten the leg. 3, 2, 1. And that's 10. Fantastic. Okay, guys, so next, moving into a couch stretch. Same as we did last week. Couch stretch can be performed against a wall, or it can be performed with your foot on a sofa or a bench. Essentially, this is a couch stretch. You know this one. Okay, from this position, we're really working on quad, hip flexor. The straighter you can bring yourself, the better. If you're getting any ankle discomfort, then you can always do a scaled variation where we bring it to a bench or a seat, and we're in this position, okay? So I'll just stay here to demo this one. If you want to go up against the wall, you can also do that. Okay, so we're going to move through this stretch for 10 big nasal breaths, which is going to be my 10 breaths. Now remember, the straighter and more upright you bring this back leg, the more of a stretch you're going to get in the quads. Okay, starting in 3, 2, 1. I just want you guys relaxing into the stretch. This is a static one now. Remember, as you're starting to feel the stretch even more, you can even lean back a little bit further, or you can bring that back leg against the wall a little bit more. So why I think quad stretching is super important. Obviously the quad, hip flexor, psoas are all interconnected, especially for anyone who gets any knee pain at all. Often knee pain could trigger from over tension in the quads or the front of the leg, pulling up on the kneecap and not allowing that patella to glide effectively. So I think if you can incorporate this a minimum of 3 times into your week, it doesn't need to be done every single day, it's a really good thing to do. Another 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. I'm gonna go ahead and swap sides, getting straight into the stretch. Remember, you can go on the wall or a bench or a sofa. 3, 2, 1, and off we go. Okay, so while we're stretching here, guys, and you guys are just doing your nasal breathing, in terms of when we put this stuff into our daily routines, your CARs, your joint rotations that we started the session with, I just showed you guys one example of some of the ones you could do. There are loads of other ways that you can do joint rotations as well. You can just go onto YouTube and kind of give that a bit of a search. That is something I recommend everyone to do every morning, whether you're an elite athlete looking to compete at the top of your sport, or you're just training for health, fitness, body composition. Joint integrity is so, so important. And if you stop training yourself or your joints at your end ranges, eventually you're going to lose the ability to use that range. So the whole rule of use it or lose it really applies to joint rotations. So that's something I would do every morning, or as a warm-up before your gym session. First thing you do when you get into the gym, take your body through joint rotations, all the ones you need, and then get into your activation work. Your static stretching work is probably something you shouldn't be doing before your workouts. This is something we're going to do after your workouts, and in the evening times, the part of kind of like your yoga or your meditation or your down regulation. 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. Rest there. Okay, so the next stretch we're going to get into, guys, is a frog stretch. Frog stretch has massive carryover into any squatting movements. So we're really getting into the adductors here, which are your groins. Just going to give you a quick demo. Hopefully you can see it. I'm basically just going down into a kneeling position like so. Belly's going to stay tight. I'm coming down to my elbows, and I'm just going to basically sit back and rock back into frog. Okay, so in terms of my heels should be in a straight line with my knees. They shouldn't be in and they shouldn't be too far out, okay? The further you bring your heels out, the more external or internal rotation you're gonna get of the hips. That's just gonna make the stretch a lot harder, okay? So this is a bare minimum. Have your heels in line with your knees. Get your belly nice and tight. I don't wanna see you arching. We're not doing cat-cows here. Bring yourself down with your elbows. And I want you to go ahead and just sit back into the stretch. So chin down. Try to relax those adductors, those groins as much as possible, and start to sit backwards towards the heels. So there's different intensities you guys can apply to this. If you want something a little bit more intense, you just got to push a little bit closer to your end ranges. But I would advise when you're doing stretching work, try not to get to the point where your muscles start to shake, because that's you right at your limits. Right now, for the sake of this session, I'm staying about 20 to 30% away from those shaking moments. But of course, with more intense, aggressive mobility, there are going to be some times where you do need to get towards those end ranges, but just be really careful with it. If you're just getting into movement and stretching stuff, stay well away from those end ranges. 10 more seconds to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. Okay, good. We're getting into piriformis and glutes now. Again, these are all what I think are your most bang for your buck stretches that you want to be doing for anyone who's doing things like deadlifting, squatting, running, jumping. So your first option is getting something on an elevated surface like this. God, this is really high. Okay, then from here, you're going to be basically bowing forward. We're getting into this muscle here with a straight back. If you don't have that available to you, no problem at all. You're just going to come down into our 90-90 position like we did last week, and then come into a forward fold. You see a lot of people do a pigeon like this. That just requires extreme ranges of motion of your hip flexors as your opposite leg, which I do not have yet. So for me, that's not a good stretching alternative. The 90-90 is a much better way for me to get into my hip piriformis. Okay, so choose what you'd like to do. Are you going to go up on an elevated surface or on the floor? Back nice and straight, and we're just going to go ahead and bow forward. I want you to feel this on the outside of your glutes here, guys. And again, nasal breathing. With nasal breathing, it also promotes diaphragmatic breathing. So when we breathe through our nose, we typically fill up our belly more than our chest, which is exactly what we want, because we do know that chest-based breathing is a little bit more of a stress response, and that's not what we're looking for today. 20 seconds. Now, of course, if you guys are doing this yourselves, you can hold these stretches for much longer, up to 2 minutes. But for the sake of this video, we're just going to keep it a little bit shorter. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. Good. And we rotate to the opposite side. 90-90, the other side. Back's nice and straight. And we go ahead and lean forward. You should feel this on the glutes or the outside of the butt. Nasal breathing still. Try and keep your back a little bit straight. Don't just kind of slump and round into this one. With all these things, guys, it's really important you feel the stretch happening. If you don't feel the stretch happening, you need to explore and try and find the best way for you to feel the stretch. Remember, you can, like some of you are doing, is bring this back leg to be straight, but it does require good flexibility and mobility through that hip flexor, which I just don't have. So that's why I'm going to do the 90-90 variation. 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. We're going to finish with a couple of stretches for the upper body. I'm just going to deliberately make these a little bit different to what we did last week. Your first one is going to be your pec stretch. You've got a couple of options. Option number 1, if you have the space on the floor, reach your arm into a wide position. Thoracic stretching here as well. So this is option number 1. If you don't have that option available to you, then you can also come up against a wall and come in here. Now, what I will ask is that even though both of these are asking for rotation to your spine, keep a bit of tension in your belly. So keep a bit of tension through here. It will actually help you intensify the stretch of the chest. Okay, so we're either going to go onto our floor or we're going up against the wall. We're going to go together. So right arm to start. 3, 2, you're going to roll over to the side. Remember, keep a bit of tension in your belly, guys. Don't just completely relax that. The more you contract your belly, the more of a stretch you'll actually feel in the chest. Keep on nasal breathing. Feel your belly rise and fall with each stretch, each breath, sorry. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job, guys. Rotating over to the side. Get straight into the stretch. Remember, you can do this on the wall as well if you want. Good. Make sure you're feeling this through the pec and through the front of the shoulder. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, rest there. Okay, good. Now, last week, guys, our last stretch was a tricep lat insertion stretch, which is basically where you have something like an elevated surface. This is my kneeling chair, which is where we were doing this stretch. We're dropping down towards the floor. That is one option for you today that you can do, or we can also work on shoulder extension. So shoulder extension is essentially, and this is going to be way too high for me, I haven't thought about this at all, is where we're basically going to place our hands behind us, and then we're going to sink down in towards a stretch. So for me, I know this looks terrible, but this is actually pretty damn close to my end range already. Okay, and the more I sink down into the stretch, and the more I lift this higher, the more of a stretch I'm gonna get here. Now, this is just a bad choice of height for me because I can't really get into a good position. So for me, I'm gonna do the tricep lat insertion stretch, which is basically gonna be on my elbows here, getting into something similar like a cat-cow, and then dropping my chest down towards the floor. And then AirPods just dropped out. We're having a nightmare to finish this call. Okay, so guys, you're gonna take your pick. You're going to tricep lat insertion, or you're going to shoulder extension. Looks like we're all choosing tricep lat. Let's go ahead and get into our position. Head between the arms. Now remember, really important when you're doing this stretch, you're keeping your belly tight. So you're not doing a cat-cow where you're arching your back. I want you to stay engaged through your belly here. Dropping your chest down towards the floor. You should feel it in two areas, triceps. So the more you bring your hands back behind your head, the more you'll feel your triceps. The more you drop your chest to the floor, the more you're going to feel your lats. Both these two things super important because they contribute to our overhead position. $15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Okay, guys, that is a wrap for today. I do want to just open up real quick, just 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions with regards to anything we did today, or just general questions on movement, mobility, stretching, any of that kind of stuff. Anyone got any questions? If you don't have any questions, it means I just completely nailed that session and gave you guys everything you could have possibly needed. Okay, good guys. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate your time. Remember to invest in yourself with this kind of work for anyone who is training. Super, super important. And if you do have any questions, you can always fire me a message on Instagram or email. Otherwise, guys, have a fantastic Sunday. See you next time.
Thanks,
See you
Ed.
guys. Cheers, buddy.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for joining. See you guys. Have a good day.